Welcome to the Truth Ministries podcast with host Bishop Isaac Hamner and Jay Will. This podcast is for informational purposes and should not be considered a legal, tax, or medical advice of any kind. We are not responsible for any property damages or loss from the use of this podcast. For more information, email Bishop Hamner at truthministries30@gmail.com or email jwill at leewill, the letter J, at gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Bishop Hamner and Jay Will.
Good evening, people. Good evening, people. This is your boy, Jay Will and Bishop Isaac Hamner. Listen, I need you to hit Bishop Hamner up at truthministries30@gmail.com. Truthministries30@gmail.com. And to donate to Truth Ministries, you can do that via the Kroger app under Kroger Community Rewards. Type in JX228 to donate to Truth Ministries through your Kroger Rewards. Listen, don't forget to hit me up either. Leewill, the letter J, at gmail.com. Leewill, the letter J, at gmail.com. We love to hear from you. And if you're watching this podcast and you have a question or a statement, please write them in the comment section. Now, I got to tell you, if your comments is crazy, because Jay Will and Bishop don't do crazy. We don't do crazy. No, we don't do crazy questions. But if your question is legitimate, we'll answer your question to the best of our abilities. And so without further ado, Bishop, it's good to see you.
It's a blessing to be here. It's always a blessing to see you and spend time with you in this arena. I am looking forward and excited to the topic that we have today to discuss.
Oh, man, you got a good topic today, Bishop. I tell you, I've been reading over your literature that you sent. And the topic today, ladies and gentlemen, homies and homettes, squirrels and rabbits, dogs and cats. It's America's prison system versus America's education system. America's prison system versus America's education system. And so, Bishop, I don't even want to ask how you came up with this, but it's a good one. But I want to start off by asking you, do you think America is prepared to process a prisoner, but slow to rescue a struggling student?
I agree. And I think that America, because of how prisons are financed and how it allows to show a type of strength, that they would rather show that type of muscle strength than to show the compassion and the work that is going to take to actually develop, cultivate, and nurture a student. And one is easy and one is hard. And one shows strength and the other creates a balanced, equal playing field for everyone. And we can hypothesize who benefits, but to me, America is set up to be a country of winners, losers, and deviants. And you have to make sure that even if you're a loser, that you're not the deviant, because they're producing a lot more deviants than they are the losers. And America is not short on winners. And winners still write the story. And that's what we're always going to be up against. But we have to gear up for this fight and really just begin to peel back the layers of the American prison system versus them taking the time to spend money on education. You know, do they want to spend money on the educational system, or do they want to spend money on the industrial prison complex?
So I do want to add in there, Bishop, that if you're a loser, be a pleasant loser. But it's not my desire to see anybody lose. I want us all to be winners, and I want us all to be successful. But there are certain avenues that you have to take to be successful. Now, to me, your success is not driven by how much you have or even how much education you have. It's the respectability and humanitarianism that people have the fellow kindness and love towards one another, treating others how they would want to be treated. Good godly principle there. Loving your neighbor, praying for those who despitefully use you. And so you don't have to be the richest person in the world and still be a winner. But I think what puts people in the loser category is when you're nefarious and you don't care. You want to make everybody's life around you miserable. And just because you lack, you want to take from others. And so that's what I think a loser is. But a person that's down on their luck, or if such a thing as luck, but down on their income and don't really have a good place to live, that just happens to be what it is. But you're still a winner in my book.
Oh, I agree. So, but Ezekiel agrees with you. Ezekiel teaches us that the Almighty takes no pleasure in the destruction of the wicked.
Ah,
You don't take no pleasure in that. Almighty don't take any pleasure in that. And it's James that says that it is the Almighty's desire that all be saved and come into the knowledge of the truth. So if you put both them prophets together, they agree with you. The loser becomes deviant when they start committing crimes.
yeah.
So that's the difference. And it really is a graduation. So America definitely knows how to produce winners, but unfortunately, they are producing enough losers who graduate to becoming a deviant. And if we're not careful, our policies will allow these losers to continue to graduate to become a deviant. So it's Proverbs that says, if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. So one of our initial discussions, and we share it, and we agree that if a loser commits a crime, then if you spare the rod, you spoil the child, which means you make them worse. So we need laws in place that deter people from thinking that there is some type of incentive for not wanting to become a winner, but rather to remain a loser, and then from a loser graduate to being a deviant to start committing more serious crimes. But is America, based on not wanting to educate the entirety of their population or their citizens, are they allowing losers to remain in that state so that they can become deviants, so that they can imprison them and make money off of them and get free labor from them? That's something that definitely needs to be unpacked.
Yeah, I think it's multi-parted. There's a whole lot of layers involved in the whole thing. I mean, of course, you probably have some that will look at it and say, "Oh, if we can keep them being deviant, we can have more money in our prison systems. We can get more free labor." But I think that we have an individual responsibility in making sure we don't end up in those categories. I have the responsibility to make sure I know how to read, and if I have a problem with reading, I should be responsible enough to get the help that I need to help me get through it. But clearly, that's not happening. I think the educational system is flawed, and I'm not bashing them. I love teachers. I think teachers are necessary. You and I both are teachers in our own right.
That's correct. Well, without question.
Yeah, it's necessary. But I think that teachers are put in a tough predicament, and which trickles down to the student. Because I don't see the same Mrs. Birds, that was my English teacher, who would hit you with 5 rulers taped together if you wasn't paying attention in class. We don't have that type of structure in school anymore.
No, we have to be willing to fund the schools.
Yes.
And I know we spend about $17,000 or so per student, but they're going to spend more than that on a prisoner. And there's less prisoners than there are students. And one of the dilemmas that we're going to continue to face in this loser, we're not calling no human being a loser,
Right.
but I am saying your actions make you a loser until you become a winner. I think
Yes.
every human being has value and is valuable until you show your lack of value. And again, the scriptures are very clear. The law was made for the lawless and disobedient. Now, if that's where you are, then we should have institutions that isolate you from the rest of the general citizenship. But what, to me, the greater question is, are we incentivizing winning, or are we incentivizing deviant behavior because of cost?
I mean, I think it's kind of both.
It seems so right now in America, it seems like both, but I can't say that across civilized nations, not across all countries, but in America, yes.
So I couldn't find the number of students that there are in the United States, but in the United States,
Oh, it's countless. So it's countless. So
they're
they're going to
approx-
count it totally differently. Yeah.
there's approximately 1,000,009 people across federal, state, and local correction facilities, which is a rate of 580 per 100,000 residents is incarcerated. That's a lot of people.
Well, so there is no other civilized country, even when you look at dictator style countries or communistic style countries, that imprison more of their population than America. It's not close.
So why do you think that is? I mean, I know we're saying this for money purposes, but if we're not committing the crimes, then we don't go to jail. Unless now, if we was in South Korea, I could see that.
No,
But-
first of all, we wouldn't have no crime if we lived in South Korea.
Well,
We-
that's
we-
true.
No.
Them people get put to death.
Immediate. So that ends that stat right there. They don't need prisons. It's called the grave. If you commit a crime in Korea, yeah, it's called the grave. Yeah, they don't need a prison for you. Yeah, no, for why waste resources and pay people? Let's just take you out of here. Now, I'm not saying that form of justice would work anywhere or that helps the population. But, just going along with what you said, yeah, no. In Korea, no, it wouldn't be like that. Not at all.
So
And the
what do you-
question is, I don't think that America has more people in prison than we have who are actual, literal, or educated people. I'm saying that we are not educating enough to disincentivize people from checking out of society. Some of it's mental illness. I'm not saying what percentage it is, I don't know. But are we educated in such a manner that people want to learn more? Or are we just giving up and allowing people to trend towards their more abased self to feed the criminal justice systems? This is a stat that we have to look up. How many judges and lawyers, or how many judges do we have in America versus how many students do we have in America? I can put my crack staff on that. They can tell us how many federal judges currently sit on the bench and then how many judges are out there locally. So that whole prison system, we can't just look at the prisoners, which now need guards, which now need administrative staff. We can't look at that. You need maintenance workers. We can't just look at that in a vacuum.
medical staff.
Medical staff. So you have to look at, for somebody to go to prison, you need a lawyer. Or a lawyer is going to need not a paraprofessional, but a lawyer is going to need a paralegal.
Yeah.
They're going to need a secretary. Well, you're going to need a judge. Well, a judge is going to need clerk, and then they're going to need understudy lawyers, and then you need administrative workers to keep track of the paperwork, and then you need a building. Well, if you got a building, then you need a roof, you need windows, you need somebody got to clean the windows, and it just keeps extrapolating to the point where it's like, how much money are we actually spending, not just on the prison, but on the prison industrial complex that includes all of the lawyers, all of the judges, and everybody that is attached to them? How much money are we really spending on that prison complex? We know there's for-profit prisons, but and they're just like there are for-profit colleges. But when it comes to education, how much time and resources are we really spending on educating? America really is a land of opportunity. But if you don't have the proper education, you really cannot take advantage of all of the opportunities that America actually presents to its citizens. And is it by design that you undereducate intentionally to keep your citizenship's education prowess low so that you can continue to control them, and then use their inability to negotiate to then force them into a hourly wage that never allows them to reach the scale where they can decide if they want to go to work, but it forces them to endlessly need to work below scale because now they got bills that they have to take care of, and they want to remain a part of society, but they get to the point where I can't make enough because I'm not educated enough, and the system isn't designed to protect or isolate me from this. So the only thing I have that I can do well is become a loser and a deviant because I'm able to secure a higher payday to then generate the lifestyle that I want to now take advantage of the American dream and get my slice of the American pie. Are we incentivizing that type of logic?
So I just looked this number up, which while I was looking down. Let's see. The United States government spends $417.1 billion annually on public prisons and jails.
Say that again. Say that again. Say that number again.
417.1 billion.
417.1 billion. That's every year.
Annually, yep.
That's annually. So how many of those years does it take to make $1 trillion? So every 3 years, we're spending, or every 2.5 years, we're spending $1 trillion to lock people up. Is that math right? Is that math? So so 4 and 4 is still 8, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you add 2 more to that billion become a T, right?
Yes, sir.
So it takes a half a year to get there, right?
Wow.
So every 2.5 years, we're spending $1 trillion to put people in prison. And mind you, I need my crack staff to get to cracking. They spend $17,000 per student to educate. What is the trade-off? $417 billion versus $17,000 per student.
I don't know. It's a lot of zeros.
But how can you as a country justify spending $1 trillion every 2.5 years just to put somebody behind a bar? Do you think, now that you see that number, do you think that's a lot of money for crime?
That's still a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. But so combined public funding from all levels of government averages about $17,619
Correct.
per
student.
kindergarten through 12th grade. Public
Mhm.
school students and 42,100 per full-time college students. The government spends a total of 114 trillion on K through 12 education.
114 trillion.
Yeah.
That's a lot of. Well, then how in the world are we falling so short? Why do you think we're falling so short?
I don't know. The local government spends about 45.1% to contribute roughly about $8,813 per student. And so the local government spends about $8,410 per student. And so I don't know where the disconnect is. Maybe I don't even know where the disconnect is, because if the prison system is spending $1 trillion and education is getting $1 trillion, then either somebody lazy or they just don't care.
Well, it's okay. So the education, what are you incentivizing with your education? Are you incentivizing people to learn? Are you incentivizing people to be robots? Are you incentivizing a citizenship who, again, are undereducated specifically to become the working class of this capitalistic system? In a capitalistic system, somebody got to win and somebody got to lose. There's no other way around it. In a capitalistic system, somebody has to make more than someone else to be successful. The point is, if you help me make more and you're one of my insiders, I'll break you off a piece. That's the capitalistic system. It's based on winners and losers. What we're trying to make sure is that the losers don't become deviants. And what I'm pointing out is that if we don't educate appropriately, not that I hate a capitalistic system, but a capitalistic system that does not properly educate, you just can't throw money at it, because throwing good money at bad items, that ain't going to fix anything. If you don't properly educate and then create a educational system where every type of student can learn, then that's where we find these deviant style individuals who are really making everyone else's life miserable, because they're not the best students, but also they're not the best citizens either. If you are an unproductive student and an unproductive citizen, that combination is lethal if you are just walking the streets minding your own business.
That's facts. And I mean, I've seen the statistics to where let's just talk about Cincinnati. 1 in 144 people have a possibility of experiencing a violent crime.
How many?
1 in 144 people.
Man.
1 in 25 have a possibility of having a property crime.
That means I'm just sitting at home and somebody busted in my car.
Yeah. Just sitting at home, somebody just busted in your car. 82% of the neighborhoods in Cincinnati are safe. What's wrong with the other neighborhoods? You understand what I'm saying?
Well, the other neighborhoods, one, it's not just two-parenting homes, but the people are educated enough that they want to participate in what America has to offer. If you are not properly educated, you don't even understand what America has to offer to you. Mm-hmm. And all you do is continue to choose the loser route. The example of the worker who has to work at McDonald's, not because they're physically incapable of doing something else, their education only allows them to participate in a capitalistic system at that level. And because McDonald's as a corporation needs workers to continue to generate revenue, they also are going to contribute to the overarching theme of make sure you create a class of citizens that have no choice but to work for us also.
I see what you did there. You said they have an arch. You said
that is
I see what you did.
That is correct. That is correct. That is correct. That is correct.
But for real though, I mean, everybody can't make $100,000, $200,000 a year.
Well, don't tell that to the Saudi Arabians.
All of them don't make $200,000 a year.
Right, they make more than that. So they all are compensated based on the oil that is generated. No, they're all independently wealthy over there. Yes, that is correct. And the government pays.
We need to live in Saudi Arabia.
No, too much saying for me. But what I'm saying is we can still model a system that works for us. See, that's all. It's just modeling a system that works. America is a very rich country. And look at what we spend to put people in jail. And the fact that they're spending $1 trillion a year to educate 350 million people, and not all, and when you look at the 350 million people that are in America, not all of them are in school. You know, a good portion of them, a good portion of our citizenship isn't even in school because they don't need that education. So the fact that you're spending $1 trillion a year based on your numbers, something is off. Something is wrong. You can't spend $1 million in education, and then every 2.5 years, you're spending $1 trillion locking these same undereducated people up. That's unsustainable for a civilization. There's no way that you're going to sustain that. But what you are going to do is continue to produce enough undereducated people, again, to help support a capitalistic system that don't want you educated. So on the standpoint of making $100,000 a year, no, everybody might not be able to make $100,000. But the truth is, everybody in America doesn't want to make $100,000. They just want to be able to have the choice to be able to work a job to earn enough money to live, and I'm saying live with dignity, and be able to travel with dignity, be able to save with dignity, be able to have health care with dignity. That's all they need. You know, everybody doesn't want the same responsibility. So a system that favors incarceration versus favoring education is a system that has no choice but to collapse in a matter of time. It has no choice. It can't continue to support paying both and wasting money on endless wars. That makes no sense.
Well, I mean, I heard some people here in America talking the other day, some political gurus, well, they were talking about getting rid of prisons.
So, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. I wasn't going to bring that up, but I'm glad you brought that up.
I'll bring it up.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up. I wasn't going to bring it up, but that's a part of the undereducated that I was talking about.
But these are
anytime somebody says that, no, they're undereducated. No, just because AI gave them a degree does not mean it's factually accurate. I don't want to hear that about these AI degree folks. I don't want to hear that. They got a degree from AI.
Some of these folks graduated from Harvard and Yale.
No, they did not graduate from Harvard. Harvard got them out of their school is what Harvard did. Harvard did what me and you know they used to do to athletes. They passed them along and said, get away from me, but give me your money. But give me your money, but get away from me. No, these are
the people in
these
charge,
are not
though.
thinkers. No, again, they are fueling the prison complex. And the people who are saying, get rid of prisons, they're looking at the same numbers that you looked at, but they're looking at the fact that the way America does its prisons is actually incentivizing them not to take the resources and focus more on educating. And that capitalistic system helps support the lack of education because a capitalistic system need workers who are underpaid, undereducated, and don't mind being undervalued so that they can continue to prop it up and live well. So what they're trying to do is cause what you do in those puzzles, they're trying to tear down the whole system. And then by tearing it down with hopes of building it up, I think it's a fool's errand. I don't think it's going to work. Even the Almighty who created these people with that backwards thought has something called the lake of fire. And even if they get rid of the prisons on earth, they're still going to hell.
So you have Representative Alexandria Cortez that wants to shut down Rikers Island in New York.
But she doesn't want to shut down all prisons. She wants to shut down one specific prison. And I disagree with that. I disagree with closing prisons. What I want to do, because the people who are in prison earned it. The scriptures are clear. The law was made for the lawless and disobedient. What I hope America is willing to do is to look at how we are educating individuals, look at our capitalistic system, stop allowing corporations to incentivize undereducated, lower educated, stop accepting the fact that somebody went to Harvard or Yale but still has a stupid thought, call the thought stupid and the person stupid with it, and the school who gave them the degree stupid as well, because it won't work. Just because you can pass a test does not make you an intellectual. It does mean that your brain is able to store, retrieve, and then regurgitate. But that don't mean that was your thought. You took a thought from a sheet of paper, sunk it in your mind, and then regurgitated it. That's stupid. That's just stupid. That's not thinking at all. You just regurgitated what someone else said. And just because they put Ivy in front of it does not make it right at all. The thought is stupid because the Almighty is going to imprison Satan in the lake of fire. That's a fact. The beast and the false prophet are going to jail in the lake of fire, and they will never be seen of again. So the thought of a person saying there should be no prisons, that's a person who has never been hit over the head by an undereducated deviant. And I guarantee you, when that person gets hit in the head by an undereducated deviant, the first number that they remember, even though they are unconscious, is 911 on speed dial. And who's coming? The prison. That's who's coming. That's who's coming. I don't listen to these people, man. I know they fools. I'm not trying to insult them, but I know they fools. And I don't want to hear about their degree. The degree needs to be put in a shredder. And that institution needs to be put in a shredder. And you know what? The bulk of these people are the ones in these Ivy Leagues that you just talked about. They're the ones that have created this an industrial prison complex where they thought it was a good idea to pay people to run prisons and again to prop up their capitalistic system. It's a great idea to undereducate people and not allow people to earn money for dignity and respect's sake. These are the ones from these quote, quote, Ivy League schools. No.
So while we give Bishop a chance to calm down, if y'all have comments, type in your comment. Type in your comment, and if your comment is appropriate, then I'll ask it. But don't ask nothing cray-cray. So we keep getting back to the more educated people are, the less likely they are to commit some types of crime. I won't say crime because you have people like Bernie Madoff, who's really intelligent, who committed crime.
He was intelligent. Yes, he was.
So we have intelligent people committing crimes, but we're talking about it. Some of them end up in prison. Not all of them end up in prison. But we're talking about the more heinous crime, the ones that affect you and I on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. Just right here in our own city. So we need to educate them more. So do you think that starts off with teaching them to read better? I think better reading skills.
Without question.
it helps you be able to develop that part of the brain, your cognitive ability.
I agree. So if a child cannot read well, the response can be slow. If a child keeps missing school, the response can be slow. If a child is angry or disruptive or traumatized or falling behind, their responses can be slow. So why does America seem more prepared to process prisoners, but slow to rescue a struggling student? And again, I think there's a lot of undercurrents there, but a child that becomes an adult defendant is not the child that is going to have a life that is sustainable in America. It's just not going to work. The prison system in America, I don't mind it. What I don't like is that we are generating, based on how our system works, more clients for the prison system. So to me, we have to start starving the clients for the industrial prison complex. And what I'm offering as a solution to starve that is to do a better job at reaching the children so that the incentive to feed that monster isn't there. But right now, we are incentivizing and creating clients for the industrial prison complex in America. We need prisons, but we don't need a system that is creating a new class of clients every year. Because I don't want to get into whether or not somebody should or should not have sex. Then they create a child and the two people were unstable. And now America has to figure out what to do with this unstable child. There's a lot of layers to this. So we're trying to keep it simple. But we don't want to continue to create clients for the industrial prison complex. And I'm saying if we don't get the education right, all we're going to do is continue to create clients because this child didn't understand. Just because this child is slow, that doesn't mean we should be willing to incarcerate them faster than we are willing to try to get them help or spend an equivalent amount of dollars to incarcerate them and adjust that to spending the same amount of money to educate them and then fail. So we're saying, in essence, that since we could not pay to educate you, we're going to pay to incarcerate you. It's unsustainable. It's unsustainable.
So I want to go back to the reading portion. So we got to find a way to get our kids to read more.
Yes.
Because reading acts as a complex mental workout.
Yes.
That actively engages, strengthens, and physically changes multiple regions of your brain. And so
Correct.
The whole brain activity, the whole brain activation, reading lights up all four lobes of the cortex as your eyes decode the shapes, translate symbols into sound, and assigns meaning to words. And so it is more profitable to read a book than it is to watch a movie.
Yes.
So we want to be able to stimulate. Do you remember? I think you and I are both kind of old enough to remember the whole phonics push.
Oh, hooked on phonics.
They were pushing phonics. They were trying to teach kids to read younger and younger. And I don't hear about that stuff anymore, man.
That's true.
We stopped. Kids are not hooked on phonics. They're hooked on Beavis and Butthead. Well, I don't know Beavis and Butthead still on. A Futurama. That's what they hooked on. Futurama and all this stuff on YouTube and Facebook. But they should be reading more books because it opens up all four lobes of the brain, of the cortex at the same time.
No, I agree. It's opening up the cortex because it promotes the brain to imagine. And if you're not reading, you're not imagining. And when you imagine, you unlock in your brain. And let's go back to these stupid Ivy League people who just memorize. They didn't unlock nothing. They just read what somebody else said and was able to put it on the test, and they thought they was a genius. No. When you read and you don't know what it looks like, your brain has to imagine what it looks like. So it opens up areas of your brain that were not activated. That's what reading does when it doesn't give you a picture. Your brain has to physically draw it within itself and then project it as an image in your brain. That's not regurgitation. That is the gift of the Almighty called creation. And that's why reading is so important. It unlocks parts of the brain that has not yet been developed. So if you continue to read, you can continue to imagine. If you can continue to imagine, then you can continue to dream. When you stop dreaming, it's called a nightmare. I never heard a nightmare called nothing but a nightmare. But a dream, yeah, I had a good dream. But a nightmare is a nightmare. And that's all we are creating on the streets are a bunch of nightmares because our imagination is gone. We're not dreaming anymore. We're not creating anymore. And we got a bunch of nightmares walking around here. And that's not what we want. And then somebody telling me, don't lock them up. Man, that's nonsense. We need to lock that person up.
Right.
Who said don't lock them up and let them go spend time with these people who they think they're trying to save. Listen, man, you can't save everybody. Christ proved that. It was 10 lepers. He healed all 10 the same, and only one came back. Come on, man. Even if you do good for people, everybody ain't gonna recognize it.
Yeah.
Only one of them came back. And Christ's like, wait a minute. Wasn't it 10 of y'all? Yeah, man. It was. But listen, I'm here. I'm saying thanks. I can't talk about the other 9. They weren't about their business. You can't. For what? Everybody won't receive help. But what I am saying is that if we don't make the attempt to start educating sooner, we're going to have one good person and 9 terrible people. Man, unsustainable. That's unsustainable.
It's unsustainable and it's unsafe.
Yeah. Oh, it's called Chicago.
Oh, well, I mean,
it's called Chicago.
It's called Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's called West Price.
Because I mean, we got some stuff going on here, but
yeah.
So I know that everybody can't be rich. I know that everybody's not going to receive the same education.
No.
But I'm more perplexed at people making excuses as to why they're like this. You don't have to be like that. Just because somebody gives you an opportunity to be a fool doesn't mean you have to be a fool. And so I think that there are individual choices that have to be made. And if the schools are not going to teach our children, I don't have any small kids anymore. Okay, all my kids are grown. But if the school is not going to teach our kids, then I should be teaching my kids. I should be making sure my kids are reading so it develops their brain to help them be able to critically think and to push them to think about something more positive instead of something more negative. But just because you're not educated does not mean you have to be a criminal. I know plenty of people who are uneducated that are just nice people that go to work every day and they don't have much and they're happy with not having much. But
no, but that's not that's a totally different person than the loser who becomes a deviant.
Yeah. So how do we get these people? Well, reading is one way to.
No, you've already said reading and education, but I don't want because I don't want it to go off the rails from this perspective. I'm not blaming teachers.
No,
teachers are the underserved. They are the underpaid. They literally are the army of our military. They go in first. Or do the Marines go in first? I thought the Army went in first. Don't the Army go in first?
It all depends. If you're in the infantry, you may be right there with them.
Okay, I got you.
Different divisions.
Okay, but I was told the Army normally goes in, and the Marines are the ones that come in. They the hammer. You sending in Marines. You know there's no negotiation when you say anytime you send the Army, it's a little, we're gonna talk a little bit. You send in the Marines, ain't no talking. They just come, they the Hulk. They just come in and smash. And ain't no talking with the Marines. When the Marines show up, it's a wrap. So, but the teachers are on the front lines, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I'm not casting any aspersion on them because they're doing a great job. They're the underserved, they're the underpaid, the underappreciated. They're doing the best they can with the tools and resources that they have. To me, we have to provide them, not only educate the students better, have to provide more income for teachers, and we have to provide more resources for teachers to help these brains develop at the rate that their brain is developing. So right now, our standardized testing, it's not based on how quickly your brain develops. And a lot of people don't know that. A standardized test is not based on how everybody's brains develop. They're not taking the smartest people and those who are not smart. They're not. They are testing you based on one very specific set of parameters. And by doing that, you might be providing a test to a student and their brain had not been developed in that area yet, and you test them and they fail. Society has a name for that phenomenon, and it's called a late bloomer. Well, but that late blooming is not that they bloom. Their brain literally developed late. But then when their brain becomes full developed and they catch on, the same student that you said was incapable of learning actually becomes one of your best students. So our testing, some type of way, has to be able to follow the progression of the brain and where the brain lies. And then how we advance from grade to grade has to be based on where the brain lies. And then when the brain catches up, then we keep moving them along based on the progression of how their brain is developing, because everybody's brains develop at a different rate. But at some point, your brain has developed to where, okay, now I'm ready. Well, then let's put them back with the other group where their brain shows that they're doing well. And the test that we have, let's test what their brain can absorb, what their brain can do, until we get them to the point where they are what we call standard. Because a lot of what they call standard, me and you wouldn't pass it there. They put it in front of us and we grown men with mortgages.
I got one of them for real.
Yeah, we got them. So we got to look at it. We got to start looking at everything, but I'm not willing to tear everything down. That still makes no sense. I'm saying let's do a real nice remodel. We got to tear nothing down.
So basically, you're saying that the systems in place are disproportionate?
That is correct. That's 100% correct. That's 100% correct.
So the system gravitates this priority more towards the penal system than education?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I think it's weighted significantly more. Again, they don't want to help the child who was undereducated, but they definitely want to imprison him because they're saying, well, you're not working at the rate, your brain is not developing at the rate that we said it should. So rather than having another avenue for you, let's just incarcerate you. That's never going to work. Some parents are like that, which is why instead of trying to work with the child, they just punish the child. And children are our best example, raising them, that sometimes children just can't be punished. You literally got to meet them where they are and where their brain has developed and what they can accept. But then it's going to take what the scripture says we all need is something called patience.
Yeah.
We need temperance.
We
need mercy and compassion.
Well, it has to be a balance. I think that,
yes.
I think that, sometimes we need a strong reminder of what not to do.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Spoil
the child, spare the rod, spoil the child. We said that. That's why we need prisons. I agree.
Yeah. But I do think that there's a balance. But I also think that we need to, whenever my kids were young and I had to discipline my kids,
Mhm.
always gave them an explanation.
Yes,
And
I agree.
explained to them why. So there's that educational piece again.
I agree.
We have to educate them on why it's wrong to do this.
Oh, I agree. So the prison and the education conversation cannot be separated from
No.
the family conversation. Can't be separated. We can talk about schools, poverty, policy, race, public policy funding, but if we refuse to talk about the home, we're just not being honest. Children need structure. Children, as you just stated, they need correction, and children need supervision above all, and it should be from a caring parent. Children need examples. That's what I was. That child that is a deviant, he learned that human brains are learning through imagination, or they're learning through on-the-job training. One or the other. Somebody is putting it in this person to do what they're doing. There's very little organic adult deviant behavior that can be found in a child. A child does not start off at the age of 5 being deviant with their behavior, unless at the age of 4, an adult got a hold of them and then showed, shaped, or molded them into this, and the brain locked in. And the reason why the brain locks in at times is to cope. And that's why we can't leave that parent, family out of the conversation of the industrial prison system, because not only is society as a whole creating it, the system itself that is made up of several components, as discussed, the capitalistic system, the prison system. There's a lot of things making this up, propping it up. But another way that we are creating more criminals is because our parents, as you said earlier, are not remaining engaged in the life of this child at its early developmental ages.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're not saying, so there are outliers.
Yes.
Because you definitely have some kids, as well as adults,
Right.
that don't have all their mental faculties.
That's right.
And so some of those kids may develop bad behaviors at young age.
That's true.
But and not be tutored by any other thing except for having, I mean, we're all born into this sinful nature.
That is correct. That is amen. 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 Amen.
And, you know, depending on what side of the fence you grew up on will determine what type of demonic influence
I agree.
that's pushing you to do one thing or the other. And so, you know, there are different types of spirits.
That's true.
I think that kids who are raised godless in a godless home.
That's right.
And that's even an outlier, because I know some people personally that raised their kids in church, that, you know, taught them the Bible. They went to Sunday school, and them folks still turned out horrible.
Well, so but that's in their nature. Scripture says they're vessels of honor and vessels of dishonor. Some of these people are created fit for destruction, and that's just how they were made. I didn't create that. Almighty created that. I'm not judging that, but that's not everybody. It shouldn't even be the majority of everybody. Right. If you look at the deviant behavior of Judas, it was only one Judas on the whole planet. So everybody can't be Judas. You know what I mean? Everybody can't be a criminal. Somebody got to be decent. So yes, every now and again, you're going to have people who lean more towards it. But I'm saying, I think with love and compassion have I drawn thee. I think there are ways to help people to avoid that deviant or that loser culture. I think parents are our first line of defense to ensure that humanity does not center around being losers. And I agree with you. Parents, they're the first line of defense. They got to be there. And then everybody else got to do their part. The community, the teachers, everybody. Everybody's got to do their part.
So, I mean, if we put this in a category, we should have the parents.
Yes.
The teachers.
Teachers,
the community,
pastors, preachers, preachers.
Yeah, pastors and preachers teaching kids.
I think the pastors and preachers got to be up there before the teachers, though. But right below the community.
Some of them.
Yeah. Well, oh Lord, see, them the deviant ones. That's my point. You see my point.
I'm talking
them
about
losers became deviant. Them preachers. You know, I feel the same way.
I'm talking about some of them pastors, man, don't need to be pastors.
No, that me and you, we amen agreement. But it's starting with the parents, community. Then we got to go to the schools, go to these pastors. Everybody has to play their role in a functioning society and do their part. And if we do, we help insulate all of our next group of citizens on how to become rounded and whole moral creatures. But if we don't continue to work on those foundations, which is the family, keep a good family system, have you living in a good, strong community, because it's doing no good to have a good family system in a community that is terrible and your neighbors are actually criminals, teaching your child how to be a criminal while you are a loving parent, going to work, going to church, doing all that, but your neighbors are criminals. The community is not insulating the child. The community now is enabling that child. We have to get that out of this system. Everything in this chain's got to work exceptionally well. The parent, the community, the teachers, the preachers, and to me, the last thing that should be working, which is our fail-safe, that's the government.
Yeah, the prison.
That's the prison. That should be the last resort. But if we build those other tiers appropriately, families, communities, schools, churches, that makes the job of the government so much easier. So much easier.
But there's one thing I got to interject in there, though.
Mm-hmm.
Those individuals have to want to receive the help
that's
being given to them.
Yes,
you could lead. You could. I mean, we hear it. People say it all the time. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it.
Cannot make him drink. I agree.
So
and that's valid. That's valid.
That's it. Individual responsibility plays a just as big or bigger part in the imbalance than most of us care to admit. Individual responsibility, and if I know that the system is designed to make me fail, so that I will become another statistic providing free labor for prison systems. If I know, I mean, Bishop, think about this. I know that doggone pot has got 5 rattlesnakes in it.
Yeah.
I know that pot. I see it. I hear him rattling. As a matter of fact, I see his tongue sticking out. He's smelling where I am. And one of them opens his mouth and show me his fangs. And I decide to stick my hand in that pot anyway. Whose fault is that?
It's your fault.
I think so. Fault. I think that
unless you didn't know that was a rattlesnake.
Well,
then you weren't properly educated.
if you're my age, you watched enough Bonanza to know what a rattlesnake
is. Bonanza told you what that was, especially by the color. By the color. Anything that sandy color with that brown on it, no man, that's a rattler. Get away from that.
That diamond back with that them
that's it.
Them triangle heads.
That's the one.
But
stay away.
We all play a pinnacle part in this. And I think that instead of the prison systems becoming the first or the second resort, the second resource. Because right now the prisons are the second resource.
Now
we have the home and we got prisons.
That's what we have.
But we need to push prisons on back down. And like the structure you said, we need to have the homes, we need to have the pastors and teachers. We need to have school systems. We need to have the community. We need to have friends and family that help with these kids and push the prison system down. Because once you get in that system, I don't care where you go, you're gonna always have a target on your back because this system is always gonna be looking for you.
It always is. So A nation that refuses to train its child will eventually be forced to restrain its adults. And that's what we are becoming. Since we don't want to train a child, now we are restraining the adult. And unfortunately, some of them are children as well. But that's why the scriptures encourages us, train up a child in the way it should go. And when they're old, they won't depart. But unfortunately, if you train this child to be a deviant and their brain is underdeveloped, and then you put a test in front of them, but their brain hasn't developed enough to be able to read the test, then you're going to call them stupid. And then later when their brain develop, these are the same person who becomes the brain surgeon or the cancer researcher that saves your life, but you just call them stupid because their brain wasn't developed. But then later the Almighty allows the tail to become the head, and that actually becomes the person who saves your life. We have to start identifying this earlier. And again, if we don't train these children, if we don't train them, then as adults, we'll find out that we have to restrain them. And that's not what we want. We want to make sure that we protect them, not only from themselves, but we protect them from a capitalistic system that says, I want you undereducated so I can take advantage of you. Or I want you undereducated so I cannot tell you all the facts. I just need your vote. And if you give me your vote, with your vote, I will have the power to make your life easier. Well, all the farmers in America, I hope your life has been made easier. Everybody who uses gasoline, I hope your life has been made easier. And anybody minus Pastor J. Will who eats beef, I hope your life is made easier.
Well, I can tell you right now, the farmers are not happy this week.
No. No.
I mean, I don't mean to. You brought it up, but the farmers are not happy. Now, last week they were sitting like fat rats.
Yeah, they were.
But this week, when the president signed that thing to allow more beef to come in from overseas, beef prices went down, and them farmers like, man, I should have sold these cows last week.
I should have sold them last week. Lost money that quick.
So, I mean, do you think that is it safe to say that education is an early form of public safety?
Oh, yes. No, but I say beyond a shadow of a doubt. I think it starts there with education. I think it starts there. If we educate them and people understand, I'm not talking about the consequences. We're talking like a prison consequence. Educate to let them know how important it is for everybody to do their part in a civilized society to ensure that there is a true balance in the community so that everybody can thrive. And then we got to tell people who are not fully developed but underdeveloped, I'll wait for you. It's okay. But we have so many stigmas on people, I definitely don't. One, I disagree with the foolishness and foolish notion of getting rid of all prisons. I also disagree with the thought of these people taking away grades, A, B, C, and D, pass and fail. That also, no, that's ignorant. All your Ivy League people keep doing and proving me right that they stupid. You cannot take grades away from people. That helps you to become an achiever because at a minimum it says your brain is not here. So what our education system doesn't do, once we put a test in front of you and you don't get an A, we don't then turn around and have another test and say, all right, try to take this test. All right. See if you improve. Okay, well, you didn't pass that test. All right, here's another test. We don't keep testing them based on brain development to see where they are to say, okay, you got an A. Now I know where you are. Let's now continue your education from this brain development stage, and now let's educate you until we get you to a state where you can take this test and pass. And I'm not saying reduce the number. You can still give them 50 questions, but it has to be a 50-question test that they can actually get an A on. And that doesn't mean you dumb it down, but it does mean you ask the questions in a way that the brain can compute and generate the correct answer.
So different people learn different.
Yes,
Different people speak different.
that's right.
I noticed, over my course of 50-something years and some change, that the more black people I talk to, we talk with our hands.
That's true.
Other
That's true.
people don't talk with their hands. They may
Right.
just have
Yeah,
their
but
hands
black
straight.
people was raised by black fathers. We trying to not get hit.
Yeah, that's true. So, but finding a way for people to learn and finding out where they are and their capacity of what they know and build off that
Yes.
makes
Yes.
better students instead of
Yes.
giving somebody a pass or fail.
That's
So
correct.
you can if you got 100 tests and 100 question tests and you miss 90 questions, is that a pass or fail?
Now that's who you telling. And if I fail, I need to know that I got 90 wrong. I'm 90% stupid. Yep. Yeah, you
Well-
are. Yes, you are. And we need to work on that. We need to work on that. Let's get you to at least 80% average, just so I agree. Yeah.
So how do we restore all this? How do we restore the sanctity of education? The sanctity now, since the beginning, I mean, there's always been deviant people and deviant kids.
Correct.
I think the number of deviant kids and deviant people we're seeing now in the communities is a lot more, but there's always been. I will go back. I will say this, and I know I may get some hate mail about this. It's leewill@gmail.com, by the way. But I think that we have in society have learned a negative pattern of behavior
Yes.
based on the practices that the United States initiated from the beginning.
Oh yeah.
And so leewill@gmail.com. I know I'm gonna get some hate mail, but I think that the problem that we're seeing right now in society, I don't think it's systemic on a racial tone. I think it's more systemic on a global or European, because they the ones taught us how to be violent.
That's true. Oh yeah.
They
Yeah.
the
No,
ones they the ones taught us how to steal.
That's true.
There ain't nothing in the United States that we have, and some will argue, oh, it was conquered. I don't care how you dress a pig up, it's still a pig. If people were living here and you came in and you conquered or you stole it, then you brought other people in here to continue to help you, I think that negative pattern of behavior has been building and building, and now we've gotten more lenient with the way we punish crime, but then we've also become more lenient on the structured educational values that we have. And when you have the two of those combined together, catastrophicness
That's true.
is right in front of us, and it's happening as we speak, because the negative pattern of behavior, what we've learned, what we've been taught, what we've seen, what we've heard, what we've experienced, and now with the lack of education and the lack of reading to help all four corners of our brain to develop and to fire all at the same time, we are creating more monsters.
Correct.
How do we fix it?
Well, first we treat literacy like a public emergency,
Yeah.
just like we did COVID. If a child cannot read, we have to remedy that issue.
Don't
Every
pass it.
child don't know. That's the whole point. So I don't think we should advance based on, I do believe we need letter grades. But when it comes to kindergarten, I think it's learning. Uh, you learn, and as you learn, you advance. Once
Yeah.
you show that you have learned in advance, then you advance. It's not just, well, your age says you are here. No, you could be 16 years old, but still sitting in the class with a bunch of 5-year-olds, and you might be doing well on all 8 tests. And then keep advancing, keep advancing. So it's not just age based, which is size based. Don't get me wrong, I'm not telling put 16-year-olds with 5-year-olds. That's ridiculous. But I am saying you group people who are testing the same, in the same level, in the same grade, to make it familiar for all of them, versus we're just passing you along with a group based on your age. That's not incentivizing anybody. So we have to take literacy and look at that differently. We got to stop treating vocational training as second class.
Right.
It goes back to your earlier point of everybody doesn't want to make $100,000. I agree. Let's start promoting more tradeship. Go to the trades. That way you don't need to have, you don't need that extra debt from college. You can actually join a trade, and then they'll actually pay you to learn how to do something. So let's put more emphasis on vocational training. The third is pair discipline and then restore it. Well, you restore discipline in the classroom, not by capital punishment, but we have to learn how to discipline people in such a way where it decentivizes them to want to be what me and you grew up and they were called the class clown. Then we have to take parenting, fatherhood seriously. Men come back to the family. Women create the environment so the men want to stay with you. And men create the environment where women don't mind allowing you to be the head because you make good decisions. Don't nobody want their head to make terrible decisions. You ain't going to make that. That's a terrible environment. But
take
women
take the bonnets off.
Oh man, don't get me started on them bonnets. Churches must become more active in the formation of these families and mentoring young men, those men whose brains are developed in such a way, and they have the time to give back. They got to start giving back. Prisons should not waste time. Prisons can be productive, but they should not teach you how to be a better or worse criminal. You shouldn't come out of the prison system learning how to do that crime you did just a little bit better so you can be out there a little longer before you get caught again. And I said it, and I still believe this, and I tell this to young men all the time. If you are a criminal and you get caught, you're not a good criminal, so you need to find a different occupation.
That's
good
true.
Criminals won't get caught. So you're not good at crime, so find a different occupation. So we got to decentivize that prison system and then change we got to change what we measure and how we measure. Not only how we look at success, how we look at the development of the brain when we are educating along with reading. It is, and no, those are 6 steps, and it seems like a lot, but I do believe that if we can begin down that path, we can change the trajectory that we are on when it comes to not only the prison system, but creating young people who not only don't want to be educated, but they are participating in a part of life that makes everyone else around them miserable. And maybe when we get this right, we can also curtail all of these public shootings that are coming from people who are misguided based on a lack of development of their brain, and they are exploiting the freedoms that exist in America. And that's not good either.
No, it's not good. Hopefully people will watch this podcast and will be inspired to help kids to learn to read more.
Yes, please.
To be inspired to help fathers get back into, and I'm saying some fathers are there, but you need to stop being devious so your kid can stop being deviant.
That's
How,
right.
how can the blind lead the blind lest they both
They
fall
both
into the
fall
ditch?
into the ditch. That's amen. That's the
So
word.
a deviant parent can't teach a kid not to be deviant.
Cannot.
Don't do what I do. No, come on, man. You need to lead by example.
Amen.
And so,
Amen.
Bishop, this has been great. I do want to say that I don't believe that America produces more prisoners than educated people. But America does have a bad habit of reacting more powerfully to failure than it does to formation. And that's the trouble, both of us.
That's
that
right.
we're so quick to punish, but we don't find out why.
That's right.
Why
That's right.
why are you doing what you're doing? How can I help you stop doing what you're doing? And so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, homies and homettes, the prison gate is not where the story begins.
It's not.
The story begins much earlier. It
Mhm.
begins when a child cannot read, and no one treats it like an emergency.
That's right.
But we get, this is a 5-alarm fire. Would you say that, Bishop?
I just say amen.
I mean, I think it's a 5-alarm fire. It begins when a young person is angry, and no one asks them what's wrong. How can
That's
I
right.
help you? Can I pray for you? Are you hungry? Simple humanitarianism. Looking out for one another instead of trying to klepto one another and steal from one another.
That's right.
The devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy.
That's the word.
But if we're walking after the light, claiming that we have the light, and we're walking around killing, stealing, and destroying, then you're a liar, and the light's not in you. You're a pseudo light.
That's right.
Matter of fact, you're a black light.
Black light. That's right. Your darkness.
You're darkness.
Mhm.
And so this story begins when fathers come back into the kid's life.
That's right.
When the parents, even you may not be together, but you can collectively raise those children in a way to
That's
help
right.
show them respect, to help groom them in the way they should go.
That's
It
right.
happens when our churches stop going after filthy lucre
That's right.
and start
Amen.
teaching the principles of God.
That's right.
But Bishop, I can go on and on for this. But
You amen is all I can tell you.
yeah. So you got any final statements, Bishop?
Well, the question is not whether America needs prisons. The question is, why do we need so many of them?
Ah,
And we have to stop needing so many prisons to somehow hide our inadequacies, our inability to want to be compassionate, to want to be involved. It's like it's the cheat code to the easy way out. Let's
Yeah.
just incarcerate. Let's just imprison. Let's just shoot. There is another way, but it is harder. It takes more compassion. It takes more love. It takes more understanding. And I'm saying we got to be more willing to be more compassionate, to be more understanding, to be willing to meet people where their brains are at the time of their development, and then have the patience to nurture them to the point where you can actually, and we need to ask ourselves, are we generating humans who can function in society? And I cannot say that that is our goal. I don't know that we're creating humans that can function in society. We're creating humans who are just getting by and want to get their way. We have to create compassionate, functioning citizens who want to contribute and not just take. JFK asks not what your country can do for you, but asks what you can do for your country. So that mindset is one who is asking the question, do you want to be a contributor in making this country a phenomenal place to coexist in?
Well, Bishop, I think it is. Go ahead.
Or do you want to continue to create an industrial prison complex that continues to fuel the worst instincts of human nature?
Wow. Well, Bishop, this has been the most enlightening. I want to leave you Ivy Leaguers with this. All you Harvard graduates that want to get rid of prisons. If you want fewer prisons, we need stronger homes. And in having stronger homes, this means that the United States government and local governments have to stop interfering with effective parenting.
Amen.
Have to stop interfering. Let us be daddies. Let them be mamas. And let us raise our kids the way we think they see fit. That's the right way. And stop taking the control out of our hands. Sometime a kid need a good slap in the mouth. Sometimes they need their mouth washed out with soap. You as the government should take a step back. So you want fewer prisons? Let's build stronger homes. You want fewer defendants? Let's make stronger students. Hit Bishop up. Truth Ministries 30, gmail.com. Truth Ministries 30 at gmail.com. Truth Ministries 30 at gmail.com. Bishop would love to hear from you. I guarantee you. And you can donate to Truth Ministries via the Kroger app. And it's right there scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Kroger Community Rewards. Type in JX228 to donate to Truth Ministries. JX228 to donate to Truth Ministries. All right. Don't forget to hit me up at LeeWillTheLetterJ@gmail.com if you have questions for me. Or if you'd like to get in touch with Bishop. Bishop is a busy man. He may not answer his email, but I answer mine, and I'll get the message to him. Listen, don't wait till you get sick to go to the doctor. Get yourself checked out, A1C, blood pressure, cholesterol, all that good stuff, and get some life insurance. Don't leave your family strapped in case something happens to you. All right, until the next time, may the Lord God bless and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you, and may the Lord God give you peace.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. For more information, email Bishop Hamner at truthministries30@gmail.com or email jwill@leewill@gmail.com.